Hello and welcome to lesson 93 of the Learning Guitar series. In this particular lesson we're going to finish off basically with the harmonic minor modes by looking into the 7th degree of the scale, which is called, as a scale, is called the Superlocrian double flat 7, which is also the name of the mode. Let's look straight away into the PDF and let's discuss it. So the Superlocrian double flat 7 is the 7th mode derived from the harmonic minor scale. As a scale, it's highly dissonant, unstable, and carries a unique dark, intense quality, even more than the standard Superlocrian scale, which is the 7th mode of the melodic minor. It offers a rich palette of chromaticism and tension that makes it particularly striking in advanced harmonic contests, as we will see in a second. The interval formula for the Superlocrian double flat 7 is 1, flat 2, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, and double flat 7. Let's remember that the double flat 7 is an harmonically equivalent of a major 6, and the flat 4 is an equivalent to a major third. So if we look at it that way, now we have a scale that is 1, flat 2, flat 3, major 3 somehow. So you're both, minor third and major third, flat 5, flat 6, and 6th. It doesn't have either a flat 7 or a major 7, and as we will see in a second, this has also some interesting application. Melodically, it offers many angular melodic possibilities, thanks to its numerous half-step movements and diminished intervals, creating a restless, unresolved feel. In fact, 6 of the 7 notes in the scale move by half a step. So between the 1 and the flat 2, the flat 3 and the flat 4, the flat 6 and the double flat 7. This creates a dense chromatic texture ideal for generating tension and movement in improvisation and composition. Harmonically, it's typically used over altered dominant chords, for example, G7, G sharp 7, flat 9, sharp 11, flat 13, resolving in A minor. I'll show you in a second what that means. Actually, I'll do it straight away. So if I have a minor chord, in this case A minor, and I'm approaching it from a harmonic minor point of view, so minor major 7. The 7th degree is here, and in fact this will be the scale. And the chromaticism we just talked are, here is 1, here is 2, here is 3. So 6, basically 6 out of the 7 notes. What's interesting is the moment I apply this to, so now we have, for example, a G7 sharp, a G sharp 7, to which I'm putting, for example, maybe a sharp 5, and maybe also like a sharp 9. So in a way, this particular chord, or this particular mode, it kind of wants to resolve back into its into the 1st degree. So we're going basically like 7 to 1, if you want to think it in those terms, as opposed to a typical 5 to 1. But it's also true that because of it, this is a typical substitution for the 5 chord, also in harmonic minor. So, for example, like again, if we are in A minor, the chord number 5 would be E7, sharp 9, flat 9. So I would have, here is the tension, here is the resolution. And of course, the moment I think this kind of chord, we will go back to, Lydian dominant and whatever scale we kind of associate with that kind of chord. At the same time, we can also do this. As you can see also, we have a similar feel. And as we will see in a second, when we look at the chords that are deriving from this mode, we'll see that, diminished chords are literally in there because the, 1 flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7, which are in the scale, spell out diminished arpeggio. So I can even approach it as minor, diminished. And the moment we open the diminished door, as you've just seen, now we open up also the diminished scale, and we open up eventually the fact of moving phrasing in tone and half step because of the symmetrical property of the diminished. Anyway, let's keep going to the PDF before we look into some practical application again. The scale does contain a major third, so in theory it could be applied over major chords, but doing so introduces intense alterations, flat 9, sharp 11, and flat 13, heavily obscuring the major quality itself. If we look at the harmonized version of the vertical arpeggio, so this is the vertical arpeggio right here, and if you look at basically the first chord just spells G diminished, as I mentioned. And if we look at it starting from the flat 3, now we have B flat, D flat. I mean, obviously this is the key to G, so you might want to extrapolate it in all keys at some point. But obviously this is from the flat 3 you have an half diminished chord. So again, it's contained, and should not come as a surprise if you remember, like chord number 2 in the melodic minor modes is half diminished. So in a way, again, this idea, this game of tension resolution, again, I'll do it in A minor. I can get back to the A minor in terms of resolution coming from chord number 5. Now we know also from chord number 7. And because it's a kind of is contained in it from chord number 2. Right? Which in this case, I'm not thinking of it as a chord number 2, but rather as chord number 7, but using the flat 3, the flat 5, and the double flat 7, and the flat 9. And again, here you can see the entire evolution of all the chords. And of course, the more we go away from the root, the more out it's going to sound in terms of like you're going away from this particular sound of Superlocrian flat 7 in terms of chord. But what's interesting, especially when you're soloing, is that you can think of this as arpeggios, 4 notes arpeggios, which you already know, because as you can see, these are major 7, minor 7, half diminished, minor major 7, etc. These are all arpeggio that you already studied, some of these actually when you did the major modes. So the idea of breaking down these in individual arpeggios is actually to have a better access to the cage system, as a matter of fact. Following on the PDF, as usual, you have, the scale, 5 shapes. And in a way, this is kind of easier compared to some others to remember, just because, again, it's so close to the actual first degree, the harmonic minor, that, you can bounce back and forth in between the two kind of easily, where starting from this note, in this case, you have the tension, and here you have the resolution. This is followed by the arpeggios, and as you can see, these are diminished arpeggios, all of them. And this is followed by the modular arpeggios, which kind of shows you the vertical structure. So it's showing you this, the entire modular arpeggio, over 5 cages. And that's important. So, to acclimatize your ear training in terms of hearing the full-on extension of this particular mode. This is followed by the chords, and this is interesting for a variety of reasons. As I said, of course, you have some diminished shapes in it. But as you will notice, for example, let's look at this as a case study. For example, this particular one. This particular shape is actually a major 7, if we take it in isolation, starting from the double flat 7, so starting from the 6th. So in a way, so if this is G, this is basically E major 7 right there. Let's actually play this so you see what I mean. So I have basically, let's do this in G. So I have this chord, which is G diminished. And of course I can play Superlocrian as a scale. You see how hard in a way it sounds. These are the diminished arpeggios I was talking about, and as you can see, it's a diminished chord, it's a diminished arpeggio, obviously it works. But we also said, okay, I can play from the 6th, a major 7 arpeggio, which in this case is going to be E major 7. And as you can, the combination is very interesting because now I'm accessing the upper structure. I'm accessing flat 11, flat 13, flat 9. It's basically the upper structure, as a matter of fact. And it's an interesting sound. Combined, I can combine with the... That's E major 7. And as you will see, and I strongly suggest you look at these chords, and the reason you find the intervals spelled out, and you recognize some of the shapes because they've been there before. So, for example, if I look at this specific one, again, is in G, and that's from the flat 5. So it's a C sharp or D flat, and this is literally D flat minor as a chord. You can clearly see it. And again, now I have both E major 7 and E flat minor I can play with in terms of using it as a, arpeggio-based lead. So now you have this. Here is diminished. Here is major 7. And here is E C sharp. Now, if I wanted to alterate and add the major 7, I would just, think in terms of C sharp pentatonic, because don't forget, any minor arpeggio is one note away from a pentatonic. So this is C sharp arpeggio, and the note missing in terms of pentatonic would be a G sharp here. Of course, this note from a G perspective is a major 7. So I'm adding a major 7, which is strong alteration. But, if I do it quickly enough, you might not even notice it. So let's start from G diminished. So you can hear the sound how it goes with the chord, but... See, now I'm using pentatonic. The only thing I'm careful is not to, maybe just to stay there. So again, what you have here is chords, and again, it's approached from a cage system perspective. So you have, for each cage, the 5 cages, you'll have some variation of these chords. As I said, pay attention to the intervals, and of course, the farther away you go from the root in terms of the upper structure, the more you're going to sound far away, but it's all good. It's all interesting sound. And this is pretty much it when it comes to this mode. As I said, this is something that you want to sit down and practice. You want to practice individually, like I just did. You might be like looping just the chord, in this case it's a diminished chord, and play the scale, of course, because it's not resolving. After 5 minutes, you might feel like taking a break, sonically speaking. But as I said, it's quite an interesting one. The backing track instead that that I uploaded to Patron, it does this tension resolution thing. So it's based in G and G harmonic minor. So it's bouncing in between G and, of course, F sharp, Superlocrian flat 7. So in this case, we have a tension and a resolution. So it makes it a little bit maybe like, more fun to play. Surely easier for the ears. And again, if we transpose the idea of what we just said, at the end of the day, we can go from, G minor is the resolution. The tension can come obviously from F sharp diminished, literally the arpeggio. Of course, the scale, the Superlocrian double flat 7 F sharp, which is again still this G harmonic minor at the end of the day. But also we can look at it as, you know, E flat major 7 in terms of arpeggios, and C minor 7 in terms of arpeggio, which again opens up the door to a C pentatonic, you know, if you want to. I'm going to demonstrate it to you in a second. I'm going to put the backing track on and play a little bit over it. Before doing that, again, thank you very much for following this lesson. I hope you'll find it useful. And until next time, goodbye.